Ouch! The old way, chapter 3? Dad and I walk along the mountain path, leaving two sets of footprints, one large, one small, marking our journey on the trail. I was constantly being scared on our way back home. We kept seeing people who walk toward the opposite direction. Sometimes it's just one person, sometimes it's just a bunch of people gathered together. Their clothes were tattered and they looked thin. It seems like they hadn't met in a long time, emitting an unpleasant sour smell. They appeared famished. They kept staring at us upon seeing us. I couldn't tell if they were looking at the basket in Dad's hands or at me. After avoiding those people by good distance, I nervously asked Dad.
逃荒的人饿坏了，惦记着咱们的食物。回家之前，无论何时你都不能乱跑，要一直在我身边啊！
Dad replied me in a serious manner and reminded me. I nodded and held Dad's hand tightly. I could sort of guess what Dad meant. These people were starving and they needed money to buy food. If they kidnapped me, they would definitely send me to others for food. Oh, okay. Still, you don't have a sister. After enduring fear and anxiety all along the way, Dad and I arrived home in the evening. As soon as we got home, Mom and my younger brother came to greet us. Oh, sorry.
带了多少粮
？1根苞米棒子，2颗白菜，3斗米。
挺好啊，只要演一晚就能赚那么多东西。
不是，看戏的人给不了那么多，只给了1根苞米棒子。
哦，卖了就卖了吧，等灾年熬回去，我们再去找找，兴许能买回来。你不在的时候，我整了整家里的东西，找到了之前说的那镯子。再过几天，你再去镇子一趟，把这些。
Few days later, Dad went to the neighboring town again. This time, I didn't follow him. Dad pawned Mom's bracelets and sold all kind of stuff at home in exchange for some food. This time, Dad and Mom got into argument after Dad got back. Mom didn't believe the bracelet could only sell for 600 copper coins. She complained that Dad didn't know how to do business and was tricked by others. Dad said he did his best to bargain and was able to sell it for this price after visiting many places. Mom also asked Dad if he could go into town and claim some relief food. She once heard from the neighbors who pled that the court would distribute relief food in times of disaster. Dad then said that those were all lies, or else the neighbor wouldn't have fled. In times of disaster, commoners could only see the tax official who regularly came to collect taxes and not people who handed out reliefs. Even if it's relief or really come from above, it would either be eaten up by layer or end up in the hands of their relatives and acquaintances. In the eyes of the emperor and the high-ranking officials, they were concerned with the vast expanse of 9 provinces. But once decrees were issued, they turned a blind eye. As for the low-ranking officials, they only wished for the calamity to last even longer. Disaster provided them with the opportunity to advance in ranks. Disaster provided them an opportunity to collect more money. So when a major disaster struck, it didn't trouble the emperor, the high-ranking officials, or even the minor bureaucrats. It only brought suffering to countless commoners. I didn't understand any of this. However, I knew Dad was definitely different from before. Last year when the disaster had struck, the uncle from the neighbor's house was still around, and Dad used to chat with the neighbors often. The uncle from the neighbor's house would complain about the court's additional tax demands, angrily causing the corrupt officials and incompetence of the emperor. At the time, Dad would still speak up for the court, saying that Ming Dynasty was fighting against the eastern invaders, and the commoners should be understanding, sharing the kingdom's hardship. Now perhaps we've been understanding for too long, understanding to the point where we're starving to death. We wouldn't say such things anymore. Understandable. One night, I had a dream. I had a dream about Grandma. Grandma dressed in grey clothes and grey shoes. She was looking at us from afar. I was standing in the mist. Her gaze was fixed upon while she smiled, but she didn't utter a word. I called out to Grandma, but she vanished into the mist all of a sudden. Thunk thunk, the dream ended and I woke up as well. As I laid in bed, I suddenly heard the sound of shoveling dirt. First, I thought I heard it wrong. So I turned around and tried to sleep some more. Perhaps I could see Grandma again in my dream. Thunk thunk! The sound of shoveling dirt became clearer. That was when I knew I was hallucinating. Rubbing my blear eyes, I first lifted my brother's legs, which were resting on my stomach. Then I softened in the bed and headed toward my parents' bed.
娘，快醒醒！
I nudged Dad and Mom with my hand.
什么？
Is someone, like, digging up Grandma? Dad was nudged by me and he slowly opened his eyes, looking a bit confused.
铲土的声音，好像是后院传来的。
Someone's digging Grandma! I said to Dad while pointing toward the backyard through the window. After hearing what I said, Dad first squinted his eyes and tilted his head to listen. Then his pupils gradually widened and his body began to tremble. Oh! Dad didn't say a word. He suddenly pulled out open the latch, grabbed the hoe, and dashed out the door. I followed him out of the door and saw two people with shovels trying to escape.
贼你娘！杀了你们！
Dad, holding the hoe, shouted loudly in the direction where those people were fleeing, cursing as he went. He was so angry that he wanted to go after the two, but the hoe was too heavy. He carried it with him and ran for a while before two people disappeared. Dad came up panting heavily, carrying the hoe. The two individuals were gone, leaving behind the hole on the ground. The hole where Grandma was in. Grandma hadn't completely dug out by then, but I saw a glance and saw the Grandma's clothes were already visible in that hole. Oh.
怎么了？那么大的动静啊！
After Dad returned, Mom also ran out the house, looking scared.
有俩瓜怂，拿铲子踩跑咱们后院的地，
How did they even know that
他们想玩
someone's
什么？
buried there?
还能是什么？肯定是娘留的传家宝啊！
Did I get it though? Did you check? Dad said in rage, but from what I could tell, I felt that perhaps it wasn't a family heirloom they were trying to dig up. The spot where they were digging was Grandma's buried. The Grandma's clothes were already showing up from digging. Perhaps if I got closer, I could see her body. Grandma came into my dream probably because she wanted to wake me up and have me remind that she was getting dug up. But I still couldn't wrap my head around it. Why did those people wanted to dig up my grandma? After those thieves left, Dad was angry for a long while. He recalled what they looked like and came up with a few names. He was going to get the authorities involved to help him search for them, but he returned shortly after leaving the house. He said that on second thought he couldn't go to the authorities. He was scared that if he did, we'd have to hunt in our food again. Oh yeah. He kept on cursing, but there was nothing else we could do. Another 2 weeks so went by. We had a thin porridge for 2 weeks and had corn cob cabbage for a meal. I couldn't eat till I was very full every day and I felt more hungry. At times it felt like there was a fire burning in my stomach. At other times it felt like there was a lump of black water churning inside, disturbing any sense of peace. I was tired for too long that I didn't feel hungry anymore. All that left was exhaustion. When I was exhausted, I wanted to sleep. I slept on the bed, hoping I could have some good dreams where I could eat till I was full. I imagined that our family wheat grew back again, tall and strong. I wanted to have a dream like this. However, the feeling of hunger was still there. Even if I was in a dream, I would wake up due to hunger before I was in for long. Aww. My brother was also hungry and he had it worse than me. Starved when he was supposed to be growing. That was a huge problem. Yeah. I mean, you're both growing, right? One day I noticed there was something wrong with him. When I called his name, he dazed for a long time before he responded to me and gave me a blank stare. Pale face, tinge of red, but his eyelids are constantly drooping as if he really wanted to sleep. I sensed something was wrong, so I touched his forehead. His forehead was hotter than burning charcoal. Oh, he's going to die, isn't he? My brother looked at me as if he was about to cry. Mom! I hastily called out to Mom, who was smoking porridge, and she ran over in a hurry. Mom reached over and touched my brother's forehead. Her face instantly started to turn pale. Dying of hunger is true, guys. Mama called out loudly for Dad, and upon hearing Mama's voice, Dad quickly ran over.
当家的，彩儿这样怎么办呢？如果不赶快找郎中开药，彩儿的头会越来越烫，这该如何是好啊？
现在哪有钱找郎中啊？
是啊，该卖的东西都卖了，没什么可以卖了。这样下去，要不了多久，2个娃子都要死了。
那我能怎么办？
贵，算我求你了，你快把那玩意儿卖了吧。
不能卖。
不能卖，贵，你就别把它当传家宝了。只有彩儿活着，这传家宝才能传下去啊。
它不只是传家宝，爹娘一直在说，那东西是神仙给咱们家的，卖了要遭报应。
报应？现在的报应还不够吗？
Maybe they sell it and then that's why they got killed or like they died.
彩儿都饿出病来了，要死了，没药没粮，他就要挺不过去了。我们都快家破人亡了，全家快死绝了，你要断子绝孙了，还谈什么报应？那你非要留着这个，不如把穗儿卖了吧。你带着穗儿去甘泉，甘泉不行，再往南边走，找个大点的城镇，把穗儿卖了。
Oh, what? What did you just propose? It was my first time seeing Mom speaking to Dad in such a loud voice. Dad changed after my brother got sick. And it seems like my mom turned into a different person as well. Especially when Mom became extremely frustrated and mentioned she wanted to sell me. Was that something she said to piss Dad off, or did she really mean it? But yeah, like, what's with that solution? Like you want to sell the heirloom for us to have food or like medicine or everything for us children to survive, but then you're proposing to sell one of your children, one of your childs. I don't know. Probably meant it. Mom and different from Dad. What? She loved my younger brother more than she loved me. Oh, okay. Since I couldn't carry on the family name or bring honor to the family by taking the imperial examination, she told Grandma more than once that I was distressed goods. She would definitely sell me if it's to save my brother's life.
爹爹，娘。
I felt sad when I thought about it, and I called out for my parents from a
哪
distance.
怕是死，我也想和你们死在一起。求求你们不要卖了我。
Oh. I walked toward my parents and said to them in a trembling voice, I wanted to change my mom's mind and ask Dad not to sell me. I stood there with my head lowered and my body trembling. My eyes were red, but the tears didn't fall. They filled my eye sockets. What do you mean tears didn't fall? It's in the picture that your tears fall. Dad turned around and looked at me in the daze. Oof. He pressed his lips together and furrowed his brows. He looked at me, then my brother and my mom. Every time he looked at us, his gaze seems to avoid us like he was afraid, only daring to linger for an instant. He kept looking at us like that for a while. Dad wanted to say something but stopped himself before the words were uttered out. He closed his eyes as if he was making a really big decision. He then opened his eyes again and looked up as if he didn't want his tears to fall either. Eventually, he looked at me again. His scribbly dim eyes lit up.
孙儿乖，爹爹一定不会卖你的啊！也不要说什么死不死的，哪怕爹爹死了，也不会丢下你，不会让你和彩儿死的。我这就把后院的传家宝挖出来，拿去卖了。若是爹娘泉下有怨，神仙降下报应，全算在我头上。
He walked up to my side and stroked my head.
爹爹。
I heard what Dad said and I couldn't hold my tears anymore. I threw myself into Dad's arm while I choked back sobs and kept calling him. Dad, taken aback by my sudden embrace, hesitated for a second before stretching out his arms and pulling me close.
孙儿乖，你不会饿死的，你会活下来，一直活很久。
What if their parents sold themselves so that their children can live?
以后啊，等你长大了，爹爹给你 找个好人，他会是能保护你的。你找个好男人照顾你，对你好，爹爹也可以放心养老了。
He held me close in one arm, his other hand gently patting my back. He spoke to me softly, his voice full of tenderness.
爹爹，
I buried my head in my father's arms and wept. I liked Dad. He had always been good to me, as if he was my brother. He had never thought of not wanting me. Dad is the best. On the other hand, my mother hates me. A day later, my brother had some thick porridge and ate some cabbages, and he actually got better. His forehead was not as hot, and although he still looked very weak, there should be no rush to find a doctor. But even so, we still don't have enough food for the last year. That said, we still need to figure it out. Thus, at dusk, Dad dug up. What is this tongue twister? At dusk, Dad dug up the family heirloom in the backyard. I initially thought it would be something shiny, golden, like Mom's jewelry used to be. As if it turned out the family heirloom was just a strange piece of meat. The meat was grayish white. It looked like a fatty pork, but was more translucent than that. How could you bury it and not rot? What? I had traces at the bottom like annual rings. Perhaps I was hallucinating, but it felt like swimming slowly. It's truly a treasure given by the deity. Dad first placed the family heirloom on the bed and kowtowed to it 3 times before wrapping it with an old piece of clothing. Dad then took a corn cob and some silver as he was getting ready to leave. He planned to go south and how much he could sell the family heirloom in Ganquan first. If it's not worth much, then he'll keep going south and ask around in large towns.
家里的粮还够吃1个多月，我这次出行大概要花上10几天。
2 weeks? Really?
若是彩儿和穗儿病了，就给他们喝点浓粥，多加点白菜。连云，照顾好孩子，也照顾好你自己。
Dad left a few reminders for Mom. He then carried the bundle with the family heirloom on its back, turned around and walked toward the door. And he never came back. Daddy! I called up to Dad.
怎么了，穗儿？
Turned around and smiled
这个
gently.
给你。
I walked up to him and stuffed pouch in Dad's hand. This pouch was really small and I was only big as Dad's palm. I was red, the fabric came from the corner of my dress. I had just sewn this pouch this morning. While Dad was still sleeping, I sewed the pouch. I hope this pouch could stay by Dad's side as my substitution. I hope it could keep the dad safe and allow him to come here early.
缝得真好，谢谢穗儿。
Yes? Dad takes pouch and stroked my head. He then turned around again and put a straw hat and bundle and kept walking forward. He took a step forward but stopped all of a sudden as he had forgotten something.
穗儿，彩儿，在家要听娘的话，爹爹很快就回来。
Dad said those words with his face facing us, his voice seemingly carrying a subtle hint of sadness. After that, Dad left. My brother and I leaned against the window watching him. His shadow grew longer and longer under the sunset. His figure... Sunset? Why did you take off at like going midnight? Or like going night? Shouldn't like go in the morning? His figure receding to the twilight. I watched his dad become smaller and smaller, drinking from the size of the bowl of peas, the size of the soybean until it disappeared completely. Dad vanished at the end of the horizon, fading to the endless mountains, and he never came back. 10 days later, Dad didn't come back. Oh, I told you so. I told you so. And my mom will sell me. A month later, Dad still hadn't returned. Oh no. I told you so. 2 months later, we were starving to death. Dad still hadn't returned. Oh. Maybe he was already dead, isn't he? Dad didn't honor his words. He said he was going to go back in a couple of weeks, but he never returned home. No, maybe he got into accident, he got robbed and killed, everything.